Welcome to Storytales. Please like this video and subscribe to Storytales. I hope you enjoy the story. Let's begin. The morning sun filtered through the kitchen windows as Kai Mathers reviewed quarterly projections on his tablet. He glanced at the clock, 7:15 a.m., right on schedule. Every morning for the past decade, he'd woken at 5, worked out, showered, and settled in the kitchen by 7 to prepare breakfast for his family. Order, structure, control. Daddy. 7-year-old Lena's feet thundered down the stairs. She burst into the kitchen, still in her pink unicorn pajamas, brown curls wild around her face. You promised chocolate chip pancakes. Kai set down his tablet, already reaching for the mixing bowl. Did I? When did I make this very important promise? Last night, Lena climbed onto a bar stool, her small face serious. When Mom missed story time again, you said chocolate chips make everything better. The mention of Nancy sent a familiar twinge through his chest, but Kai kept his expression neutral. Well, a promise is a promise. One homie mix. As they worked together, 9-year-old Silas wandered in, already dressed in his soccer uniform. Mom's not up yet. She got home late from her work event. Kai explained, though he'd heard her car pull in at 2 a.m. Again, let's let her sleep. He'd stayed awake, listening to her quietly navigate their bedroom in the dark. The faint scent of cigarette smoke had clung to her clothes, strange, since Nancy had quit smoking years ago. Just like the unfamiliar cologne he'd noticed last week. Just like the text messages she quickly deleted when he entered the room. Earth to Dad. Silas waved a hand in front of his face. You're burning the pancake. Kai flipped the slightly darkened pancake onto a plate. Extra crispy. That's how you like them, right? Since when? Silas rolled his eyes, but he was smiling. Lena gasped suddenly. Mom, you're up. Nancy stood in the doorway, perfectly put together in a navy business suit. At 34, she still turned heads, something Kai had once felt proud of. Now, watching her apply another coat of lipstick, he wondered who she was trying to impress. Morning, everyone. She grabbed a travel mug, filling it with coffee. I have an early meeting, but it's pancake day, Lena protested. Daddy made chocolate chip. Save me one for later, sweetie. Nancy kissed the top of Lena's head, then Silas's. She moved toward Kai as if to kiss him too, then seemed to think better of it. Don't forget Silas has soccer practice after school. I know the schedule, Kai said quietly. He knew everything about their children's lives, every appointment, every activity, every friend's birthday. While Nancy's involvement had grown increasingly selective. Right? Of course you do. Was that sarcasm in her tone? She checked her phone, frowning. I'll be late tonight. Don't wait up. As she hurried out, Kai noticed she'd left her wedding ring on the counter. Again, the third time this month. Dad, Silas's voice was hesitant. Tommy's parents got divorced last month. He said first they stopped eating breakfast together. Then his mom started working late all the time. And then, eat your pancakes, buddy. Kai squeezed his son's shoulder. Everything's fine. But as he watched his children eat, his mind was already cataloging patterns, analyzing data points. The missed family dinners. The new gym membership she never used. The work events that left her smelling of smoke and cologne. The cash withdrawals from their joint account, small amounts, but regular. His colleagues called him the shark for his ability to spot weakness in business deals. He'd built his career on analyzing patterns, predicting moves, striking at the perfect moment. Now, those same instincts were screaming that something was very, very wrong with his marriage, but Kai wasn't ready to strike. Not yet. First, he needed proof. Strategy. A perfect plan. What he didn't know was that he was already too late. That evening, Kai stood at the kitchen counter, methodically chopping vegetables for dinner while his children's laughter drifted in from the backyard. Through the window, he watched Silas pushing Lena on the swing set, her pigtails flying high against the autumn sky. His phone buzzed with another text from Nancy. Working late again. Don't wait up. Kai set down the knife, studying the message. 3 words that said so much and revealed nothing. He pulled up their text history. In the past month, she'd missed 12 family dinners. Always with the same excuse. Working late. Daddy. Lena burst through the back door, cheeks flushed with excitement. Silas says dinner's ready, but I don't see anything cooking. Kai lifted her onto the counter, breathing in the sweet scent of her shampoo. These moments he lived for these moments. That's because your brother's trying to rush the chef. What do you say we teach him a lesson about patience? Silas appeared in the doorway, attempting to look cool and detached in that new preteen way. But Kai saw the worry in his eyes. The same worry he'd noticed more and more lately. Mom's not coming again. She's working late, buddy. Kai kept his voice neutral, shielding his children from the doubt gnawing at his gut. But hey, that means we get to make dinner together. Who wants to be my sous chef? What's a sous chef? Lena wrinkled her nose. Sous chef, Kai corrected, tapping her nose. It means you're the second in command in the kitchen. Very important position. As they cooked together, Kai maintained the facade of normalcy he'd perfected. He asked about their day at school, helped Silas strategize for his upcoming soccer game, and listened to Lena's detailed description of the butterfly she'd seen at recess. And then, Lena continued, carefully stirring the pasta sauce. Emma said her mom and dad are getting a new house. But not together. Her dad's getting his own house. Why would they want different houses? Kai and Silas exchanged a look. Another divorce in their social circle. The third this year. Sometimes, Kai chose his words carefully. Grown-ups need space to figure things out. Is that why Mom needs so much space? Silas asked, his voice too casual. To figure things out? Kai put down the spoon he was holding. Come here, both of you. His children approached. Lena still clutching her wooden spoon. Silas trying to look indifferent and failing. I want you to listen carefully. Kai knelt to their level. Whatever's happening with Mom's work, whatever changes you might notice, one thing will never change. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Understand? Lena nodded immediately. Silas took longer, searching his father's face. Promise? Promise. Kai pulled them both into a hug, his mind already spinning with contingency plans. He'd always protected his family. Always would, no matter what. After dinner, bath time, and 3 bedtime stories for Lena, Kai sat in his home office, reviewing financial records. The small cash withdrawals from their joint account formed a pattern. Every Tuesday and Thursday, between 2 and 3 p.m. When Nancy claimed to be at the gym, he could hack her phone, track her car, hire a private investigator. But something held him back. Trust, maybe, or pride, or the faint hope that he was wrong, that there was a reasonable explanation for everything. His business trip to New York was scheduled for tomorrow. Just 2 days. He'd originally planned to confront Nancy about his suspicions when he returned, but something in his gut told him to wait. Gather more proof. Build an ironclad case. What he didn't know was that in 48 hours, he would return to find his entire life erased. The taxi dropped Kai off after his 2-day business trip, the setting sun painting the sky in shades of blood and gold. The first warning sign, Nancy's car wasn't there. Neither was his own second car, the one she usually drove that he inserted his key into the front door, and the silence hit him immediately. Wrong. Everything was wrong. The entryway was bare. The antique console table Nancy had insisted on buying gone. The family photos that had lined the walls gone. Even the hooks where his children hung their backpacks were empty, leaving only shadowed circles on the wall. Nancy. His voice echoed through empty rooms. Silas? Lena? Kai moved through the house with growing urgency, his footsteps echoing on hardwood floors that had never seemed so exposed. The living room furniture vanished. The kids' toys cleared out. Their bedrooms stripped bare except for the heavy furniture they couldn't easily move in Silas's room. A single soccer trophy remained on an otherwise empty shelf. In Lena's room, her beloved stuffed rabbit, the one she'd slept with every night since she was 2, was gone. They'd taken everything that mattered. His heart hammered against his ribs as he reached the kitchen. A single piece of paper lay on the otherwise empty counter, Nancy's flowing handwriting stark against the white. You were never enough. Don't fight this. Walk away. The paper crumpled in his fist as he pulled out his phone with his other hand. Nancy's number went straight to voicemail. He hung up and tried again. And again. Each time, her cheerful recording mocked him. Hi. You've reached Nancy Mathers. With trembling fingers, he dialed his parents' number. They would help. They had to help. Warren and Eloise Mathers had always been his bedrock, his moral compass. Hello. His mother's voice was uncharacteristically hesitant. Mom, Nancy's gone. She took the kids. Everything's gone. I need Kieran. The use of his full name stopped him cold. His mother hadn't called him that since he was a child in serious trouble. What's going on? Steel crept into his voice. Where are my children? A heavy sigh in the background, then his father's voice. Maybe this is for the best, son. The words hit him like a splash of ice water. What did you just say? Nancy. She explained everything to us. We understand why she needed to do this. Kai gripped the counter, his knuckles white. Understand? My wife has kidnapped my children, stolen my property, and you understand? It's not kidnapping, his mother interjected. She's their mother. And you haven't been what they needed. What they needed? Kai's laugh was harsh. I built everything we have. I gave them everything. Except yourself, his father said. Nancy told us how absent you've been. The long hours. The emotional distance. The cold shoulder when she tried to talk to you about her feelings. And you believed her. Each word felt like ground glass in his throat. Your own son. We've seen it ourselves, his mother said softly. How many family dinners have you missed? How many times have you checked your phone instead of listening to the kids' stories? I was providing for them. The words ripped from his chest. Everything I did was for them. Son, his father's voice held that same patronizing tone he'd used when Kai was a teenager. Sometimes we have to accept when we've failed. Nancy's doing what's best for the children. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. The betrayal crystallized in that moment. His own parents, conspiring with Nancy to destroy him. How long had they been planning this? How many family gatherings have been strategy sessions for his destruction? I see. Kai's voice went cold, emotionless. Thank you for clarifying where you stand. Kieran. He hung up, staring at his reflection in the dark kitchen window. The man looking back at him wasn't the trusted husband, the devoted father, the dutiful son. That man had been a facade, apparently. A joke. They want him gone? Erased? He glanced at Nancy's note again, a bitter smile twisting his lips. Don't fight this, he read aloud. Oh, Nancy, you have no idea what fighting really looks like. The drive to his in-laws' house was a blur of strategic planning. Nancy's parents, Robert and Marie Vaughn, had always doted on their only daughter. If anyone knew where she'd taken his children, they would. Kai pulled into their circular driveway, noting the drawn curtains. They were home. Both their cars sat in the garage. He straightened his tie, smoothed his features into a mask of worried confusion, and rang the doorbell. Shuffling footsteps approached. Marie opened the door just enough to peer out, her face pale. Kai, we weren't expecting you. Clearly, he kept his voice gentle, concerned. Marie, I need to know where Nancy took my children. She glanced over her shoulder, then back at him. I can't help you. Can't. Or won't. He placed his foot subtly in the door frame. Then my children too. I have a right to know they're safe. They're perfectly safe. Robert's voice boomed from inside. With someone who'll be a real father to them. The pieces clicked into place. Kai's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing the predator beneath. Who is he? Marie flinched at his tone. Robert appeared behind her, trying to project authority despite being several inches shorter than Kai. Elliot Rains. Not that it's any of your business anymore. The name hit Kai like a hammer to the chest. Elliot, Nancy's college friend who'd started showing up at family events last year. The one she'd insisted was just an old friend when Kai noticed their lingering looks. The one who'd always seemed a little too interested in his children's lives. Always asking about their schools, their activities, their futures. Elliot Rains, Kai repeated, committing the name to memory. The man who's going to adopt my children. It's what's best for everyone. Marie wrung her hands. He can give them stability. A real family. A real family. Kai's laugh was hollow. And what exactly makes him more qualified than their actual father? Robert drew himself up. He's successful. Present. Emotionally available. Everything Nancy needed that you couldn't provide. Everything Nancy needed. Kai's voice dropped dangerously low. Or everything you push her toward. How long have you been poisoning my wife against me? We didn't poison anything. Marie protested. We just supported her when she finally admitted how unhappy she was. How controlling you could be. Controlling? The irony almost made him laugh. I gave her complete freedom. Joint accounts. No questions about her spending. Trust in her late nights and weekend trips. And this is how she repays that trust. See, Robert jabbed a finger at him. There's that cold, calculating attitude. Always keeping score. Always tracking everything like it's one of your business deals. My children are not a business deal. Kai's voice was deadly quiet. Where are they? Safe from you. Robert spat. They're going to be a family, a real one. Elliot and Nancy are getting married as soon as the divorce is final. He's already filed to adopt Silas and Lena. The world tilted on its axis. Marry? Adopt? They plan to erase him completely, replace him as if he'd never existed. I see. Kai straightened his shoulders, cold rage sharpening his mind to crystalline clarity. Thank you for your honesty. It's illuminating. Kai. Marie reached for him, then thought better of it. Please don't make this difficult. The kids, they need stability. Peace. Peace. He smiled, and both in-laws took another step back. Oh, I'm not going to make anything difficult. In fact, I'm going to make things very, very simple. He turned and walked to his car, ignoring their worried whispers behind him. In the driver's seat, he sat perfectly still, mind racing through possibilities, strategies, weaknesses to exploit. The setting sun painted his dashboard in shades of crimson as Kai pulled up his phone's notes app. His fingers moved across the screen with surgical precision, creating a new document, 8T the top. He typed two names, Nancy Vaughn Mathers Elliott R.S. below them. He began listing every scrap of information he had. Every connection, every possible pressure point. His mind, trained through years of high-stakes financial dealings, automatically began mapping relationships, vulnerabilities, points of leverage at Nancy's carefully hidden financial transactions, the forged signatures he'd noticed but ignored, Elliot's sudden appearances at family events, his parents' complicity in the scheme, the in-laws' role as enablers. They thought him cold, calculating, controlled. They had no idea what he was capable of when pushed too far. His phone buzzed a text from Silas's soccer coach. Missing practice today? Everything okay? The message jolted him back to the immediate crisis. His children were out there somewhere, probably confused, definitely manipulated. How were they explaining his absence to Lena? What lies were they feeding Silas? He started the car, mind already formulating the next steps. First, document everything. The empty house, the missing assets, the note. Then, contact his company's legal department. He'd earned enough goodwill there to call in some favors. But as he drove, another plan began taking shape. The legal system would be too slow, too gentle. They wanted to erase him, replace him, make him disappear. He would show them what real erasure looked like. You were never enough. Nancy's note had said. Kai's lips curved into a cold smile as he pulled into his driveway. Time to show you exactly what I am. In his good-at-home office, he booted up his laptop. The screen's glow illuminated his face as he began his research. Every piece of information was a weapon. Every connection, a potential pressure point. Every secret, ammunition. They thought they'd orchestrated the perfect plan. But they'd forgotten one crucial detail. The shark didn't earn his nickname by being merciful to his prey, and they had just made themselves prey. The family court building loomed before Kai as he straightened his tie. Inside, his emergency custody hearing would begin in 20 minutes. He'd spent the past week gathering every document, every record, every shred of evidence that proved his devotion as a father. Mr. Mathers, a woman in a crisp suit approached. I'm Amanda Torres, your court-appointed mediator. Pleasure. Kai's smile was practiced, professional. Is my wife here yet? Mrs. Mathers and her counsel arrived early. Amanda consulted her tablet, along with character witnesses. Character witnesses? Your parents, Warren and Eloise Mathers. Kai's jaw tightened imperceptibly. Of course, they'd come to help erase him. Inside the courtroom, Nancy sat with her lawyer, a sharp-featured woman in her 50s. Behind them, Kai's parents studiously avoided his gaze. Judge Patricia Reynolds, a stern-faced woman with steel-gray hair, studied the documents before her. Mr. Mathers, the judge began. You're seeking emergency custody of your children, Silas and Lena Mathers, claiming parental alienation and theft of joint assets. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. Kai stood, voice steady. My wife removed our children from their home without notice or consent, took substantial joint assets, and is actively preventing any contact with my children. Nancy's lawyer rose. Your Honor, my client left an increasingly controlling and emotionally abusive situation. We have testimony from multiple witnesses about Mr. Mathers' concerning behavior. Concerning behavior. Kai's voice remained calm. I'd be interested to hear specific examples. Mrs. Eloise Mathers, the lawyer called. Please take the stand. Kai watched his mother walk to the witness box, her hands clasped tightly together. She wouldn't meet his eyes. Mrs. Mathers, please describe your son's behavior toward his family. Kieran, his mother's voice wavered. He's always been intense, controlling. Everything had to be on his schedule, his way. The children were afraid to disturb his routine. That's a lie. Kai's voice cut through the room. Your Honor, I have documentation of every school event, every soccer game, every dance recital I've attended. I have testimonials from their teachers about my involvement. Mr. Mathers, Judge Reynolds warned, you'll have your turn. The parade of betrayal continued. His father testified about Kai's obsession with control. Nancy's lawyer presented carefully selected text messages showing Kai questioning Nancy's late nights, conveniently omitting the suspicious circumstances. When Nancy took the stand, she played her role perfectly. Tears glistened in her eyes as she described feeling suffocated by Kai's constant monitoring. He tracked every penny I spent, she said, dabbing her eyes. Questioned every friend I made. The children, they needed freedom to grow, not his rigid control. Your Honor, Kai stood again. May I question my wife directly? The judge nodded. Proceed. Nancy, Kai approached the stand, maintaining professional distance. You claim I was controlling with money. Yet our bank records show you had unrestricted access to our joint accounts. In fact, you made several large withdrawals in the past month without any question from me. Would you call that controlling? You kept spreadsheets of everything, Nancy countered. You always knew what I spent. Because I'm an investment manager. I track all our family expenses for tax and planning purposes. Did I ever prevent you from spending money? No, but did I ever question your purchases? Not directly, but in fact, Kai continued, didn't I encourage you to pursue your own interests? The gym membership you never used? The work events that kept you out until 2 a.m.? Nancy's lawyer jumped up. Objection. Mr. Mathers is badgering the witness. Sustained. Judge Reynolds frowned. Mr. Mathers, stay focused on the custody issue. But Kai had made his point. He saw the flicker of unease in Nancy's eyes. After 3 hours of testimony, the judge rendered her decision. While Mr. Mathers has demonstrated financial stability and involvement in his children's lives, the testimony regarding his controlling behavior is concerning. Given the volatile situation, temporary custody will remain with Mrs. Mathers, with supervised visitation from Mr. Mathers pending a full custody hearing. Kai absorbed the blow without flinching. He'd expected this outcome. The system wasn't designed for justice. It was designed for maintaining the status quo as people filed out of the courtroom. His mother approached. Kieran, please understand. You've made your position clear. Kai gathered his documents. I won't waste any more of your time. In the parking lot, Nancy caught up to him. Kai, wait. We can work something out. Regular visits, shared holidays, interesting offer. Kai turned to face her. And what does Elliot think about that arrangement? Nancy paled. How did you know about your plans to let him adopt my children? Kai's smile was razor sharp. I know everything, Nancy. And since you've chosen the nuclear option, I'll respond accordingly. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm done playing by your rules. He opened his car door. You want me gone? Be careful what you wish for. As he drove away, Kai pulled out his phone and made a call. Detective Morrison? It's Kai Mathers. Remember that favor you owe me? I need everything you can find on Elliot Rains. Kai's home office had become a war room. 3 laptops displayed different screens. Financial records, social media feeds, and property records. On the wall, he'd created a timeline of Nancy's activities over the past year. His phone buzzed. Detective Morrison. Talk to me. Kai answered. Your boy Elliot's got some skeletons, Morrison's gruff voice replied. Ex-fiancée, named Cora Willoughby, filed a restraining order in 2019. Left town suddenly after that. Send me everything. Already did. Check your email. Kai opened the attachment. Police reports, court documents, sworn statements. His eyes narrowed as he read Cora's testimony. Elliot seemed perfect at first. Charming. Attentive. But when I moved in, everything changed. He monitored my phone, controlled my schedule. If I disagreed with him, he'd explode. The night I left, Kai's hands tightened on a mouse as he read the details of Elliot's violent outburst. Another email popped up, this one from his contact at the bank. Found something interesting in those transactions you flagged. Multiple transfers from your joint account to an offshore entity. Signatures don't match your specimens. Kai pulled up the documents. There was Nancy's attempts at forging his signature. She'd gotten better at it over time, but the early attempts were obvious to anyone who knew what to look for. Total amount transferred, $127,456. Got you, Kai murmured. His next call was to a private investigator who specialized in social media analysis. Mr. Mathers, the PI's voice was clinical. I've compiled the requested data. Ms. Willoughby is currently living in Seattle under a different name. She's been quite interested in sharing her story. Make contact. Tell her I can help her get justice. Over the next week, Kai built his case methodically. Every document verified. Every statement corroborated. Every weakness in their armor identified. Nancy had taken their children. He documented her theft of joint assets. She claimed he was controlling. He gathered proof of her deceptions. Elliot wanted to play father. His violent past would make that impossible, but a knock at his door interrupted his work. He opened it to find Cora Willoughby, now Cora Bennett, standing there, clutching a manila envelope. Mr. Mathers. Her voice was soft but steady. Your investigator said you could help me finally tell the truth about Elliot. Please come in. Kai led her to his living room. Tell me everything. For the next 2 hours, Cora painted a picture of a man whose charming facade masked a dangerous obsession with control. The same man who now wanted to adopt Kai's children. I still have the videos, Cora said, pulling out her phone. The ones I took secretly, documenting his behavior. I was too scared to use them before, but now. Kai watched the footage, his expression hardening. Would you be willing to testify? Yes. Cora's hands trembled, but her voice was firm. He shouldn't be allowed near any children. Ever. After she left, Kai made one final call. Barbara? It's Kai Mathers. Remember when you said you owed me for that merger tip? I need access to Nancy's work records. Specifically, proof that she wasn't at those late-night meetings she claimed to attend. The pieces were falling into place. Nancy thought she'd orchestrated the perfect plan, but she'd forgotten who she was dealing with. The shark didn't just bite. He devoured his prey whole. Warren and Eloise Mathers lived in the same house where they'd raised Kai, a comfortable colonial in an upscale neighborhood. Today, it would become ground zero for the next phase of his plan. Kieran, his mother's surprise was evident when she opened the door. What are you doing here? Can't a son visit his parents? Kai's smile was pleasant, non-threatening. I've been doing some thinking. About family. About forgiveness. Warren appeared behind his wife, suspicious. You're not welcome here. Actually, Kai held up a bottle of wine. I am, because we're going to have a very interesting conversation about bank fraud. The color drained from both their faces. Come in, Eloise whispered, in their living room, surrounded by family photos that now felt like mockeries. Kai poured 3 glasses of wine. His parents sat together on the couch, united in their betrayal. I've been reviewing some interesting documents. Kai began, taking out his phone. Would you like to hear them? Without waiting for an answer, he pressed play. His mother's voice filled the room. Of course we'll help you move the money, Nancy. Kai doesn't deserve any of it after how he's treated you. Another recording. I'll testify however you need me to. We'll make sure he never gets near those kids again. That's illegal recording, Warren sputtered. Oh, that's what concerns you. Kai laughed softly. Not the conspiracy to commit fraud? Not the perjury in family court. We did what was necessary, Eloise insisted. For the children's sake. The children's sake? Kai's voice remained calm. Let's talk about what's best for the children, like allowing them to be adopted by a man with a history of domestic violence. He placed Cora's documentation on the coffee table. Police reports, hospital records, restraining orders. That's not possible, Eloise whispered, scanning the documents. Nancy said he was perfect for them. Nancy said a lot of things, didn't she? And you believed every lie because it fit your narrative about me. Kai leaned forward. Would you like to know what else Nancy's been doing? Who she's been meeting during those work events you defended in court? Warren held up his hand. Stop. Just what do you want? Kai's smile was cold. I want you to experience exactly what you helped Nancy do to me, starting with your retirement fund. What? I've already reported the fraud to your bank. They're quite interested in how you helped Nancy forge documents and transfer assets. In fact, he checked his watch. They should be freezing your accounts right about now. Eloise's phone buzzed an alert from their bank. Her hand shook as she read it. You can't do this. Warren stood up, trying to intimidate. We're your parents. No. Kai rose to his full height. You lost that right when you conspired to steal my children. When you lied in court. When you chose Nancy's lies over your own son. We can fix this, Eloise pleaded. We'll tell the truth. Recant our testimony. Too late. Kai gathered the documents. You chose your side. Now you get to live with the consequences. The house, Warren realized suddenly. The bank will seize the house. It's our retirement security. Should have thought of that before committing fraud. Kai moved toward the door. Consider this your eviction notice. Kieran, please. His mother grabbed his arm. We're still your family. Kai removed her hand slowly. No, you're not. You're just more collateral damage in Nancy's war. And I don't have mercy for my enemies. He left them there, surrounded by their crumbling life, and drove home. In his office, he marked another phase of his plan complete. Nancy had taken his children. His parents had betrayed him. Now, they would all learn the true meaning of loss. The end game was approaching. Soon, very soon, he would reveal every card he'd been holding, and their perfect little plan would burn to ash. Dawn broke over Chicago as Kai reviewed his plan one final time. In his office, 3 screens displayed different surveillance feeds from the courthouse. On his desk, a stack of documents waited, every piece of evidence meticulously prepared. His phone buzzed. Detective Morrison. Everything's in position, Morrison reported. DA's got the warrants ready. Officers are staged at every exit. What about our special guest? Cora's flight landed an hour ago. She's ready to make her grand entrance. Kai allowed himself a small smile. And the press. Anonymous tip went out about a celebrity adoption filing. They're already gathering. Channel 4's got their best crew there. Perfect. Kai straightened his tie. Nancy and Elliot just left her new apartment. They're wearing their Sunday best. Looking real wholesome. Of course they were. They thought today was their triumph. The day they'd officially erase him from his children's lives. Remember, Kai said, timing is everything. Let them get to the clerk's window. Let them think they've won. Then, we bring the hammer down, Morrison finished. Don't worry, we've got this choreographed like a ballet. Kai ended the call and made one final check. Another text came in, this one from his source inside the courthouse. Judge Reynolds has reviewed the evidence package. She's ready to grant the emergency order the moment they're arrested. Everything was in place. Months of planning, gathering evidence, building alliances, it all came down to the next 2 hours. His phone buzzed again. A message from Nancy, taking our children to school, then making them officially Elliot's. Hope you're enjoying your empty house. Kai didn't reply. She'd have her answer soon enough. The courthouse lobby gleamed under fluorescent lights as Nancy and Elliot approached the family court clerk's window. They made a picture-perfect couple. Nancy in a conservative blue dress, Elliot in a tailored suit. Behind them, Robert and Marie Vaughn beamed with pride. Kai watched from his position near the security desk, hidden behind a pillar. Through his earpiece, he could hear Morrison coordinating the officers. We've got eyes on the targets, Morrison murmured. Primary team in position. Secondary team covering the exits. Nancy reached the clerk's window, Elliot's hand possessively on her lower back. Good morning, her voice carried across the lobby. We're here to file adoption papers. Rain's family. The clerk, carefully briefed beforehand, frowned at her computer. I'm sorry. There seems to be a hold on this filing. A hold? Elliot leaned forward, his charm cranked to maximum. There must be some mistake. We have all the paperwork right here. Multiple criminal investigations pending, the clerk read. I'm required to. The main doors burst open. 2 uniformed officers entered, followed by Detective Morrison holding a thick stack of papers. Nancy Mathers. Morrison's voice boomed through the lobby. You're under arrest for financial fraud, forgery, and theft of jointly held assets. Nancy's face went chalk white. What? This is ridiculous. I'm here to file adoption papers. And you? Morrison turned to Elliot Rains. We have some questions about violation of existing restraining orders. I don't know what you're talking about. Elliot's charm wavered slightly. This is clearly a mistake. No mistake. Kai stepped out from behind the pillar. The only mistake was thinking you could get away with this. Kai. Nancy's voice rose in panic. What have you done? Me? Kai's smile was cold. I simply revealed the truth. About your theft. About Elliot's violent past. About everything. Sir, one of the officers approached Elliot. Please step away from Mrs. Mathers. This is absurd. Elliot protested, still trying to maintain control. I'm here to adopt these children. I have every right. You have no rights. A new voice rang out. Cora stepped into view, cameras flashing behind her. Just like you had no right to put me in the hospital. Elliot's face drained of color. Cora, remember me? She held up her phone. Remember these videos? The ones showing exactly who you are when the mask comes off. Turn those cameras off. Elliot lunged toward a reporter. The officers reacted instantly, taking him down. In the chaos, Nancy tried to run, but another officer caught her arm. Mrs. Mathers, you have a right to remain silent. Kai, please. Nancy's mascara ran as tears fell. We can fix this. Think of the children. The children. Kai stepped closer, his voice deadly quiet. You mean the ones you tried to steal from me? The ones you were going to hand over to a violent abuser? It wasn't like that. She struggled against the officer. You were never there. Never there. Kai's voice cut through her protests. I have proof of every school event, every doctor's appointment, every moment I was there while you were sneaking around with him. He jerked his head toward Elliot, who was being handcuffed. You don't understand, Nancy pleaded. Elliot promised we'd be a real family. A real family? Kai laughed coldly. Tell that to Cora. Tell that to the other women he abused. Did you even bother to check his background before trying to make him my children's father? Nancy's eyes widened as she looked at Cora, then at Elliot. For the first time, doubt crept into her expression. Take them away, Kai told the officers. I believe the DEA has quite a few questions about those forged documents. As Nancy was let out, she turned back one last time. The kids, they need their mother. They need the truth, Kai replied. And now they'll have it. The press swarmed, cameras flashing, questions flying. Mr. Rains, what about the restraining order? Mrs. Mathers, how much money did you steal? Mr. Mathers, how did you uncover this conspiracy? Kai ignored them all, watching as his wife and her lover were escorted to separate police cars. On the courthouse steps, Robert and Marie Vaughn stood frozen in shock. Mr. Mathers, a reporter shoved a microphone in his face. Did you orchestrate this entire sting operation? Kai straightened his tie. I simply ensured that the truth came to light. No one is above the law, not even the mother of my children. The emergency custody hearing began 30 minutes later. Judge Reynolds, the same judge who had denied Kai's previous request, sat with a markedly different expression as she reviewed the new evidence. Mr. Mathers, she began, in light of Mrs. Mathers' arrest and the overwhelming evidence regarding Mr. Rains' history of domestic violence, I'm prepared to revisit the custody arrangement immediately. Kai stood, composed and professional. Thank you, Your Honor. Nancy's lawyer, looking distinctly uncomfortable, rose to object. Your Honor, my client hasn't been convicted of any crime. Save it, Counselor, Judge Reynolds cut in. I have signed confessions from Mr. and Mrs. Mathers, the elder Mr. Mathers, admitting to their role in your client's financial fraud. I have video evidence of Mr. Rain's violent behavior, and I have proof that your client perjured herself in this very courtroom. The judge turned back to Kai. Mr. Mathers, I owe you an apology. It appears I was misled during our previous hearing. You made the best decision you could with the information available, Kai replied diplomatically. Nevertheless, she continued, I'm correcting that error now. I'm granting you immediate full custody of both children. Mrs. Mathers will be permitted supervised visitation only, pending the outcome of her criminal charges. She turned to Nancy's lawyer. Furthermore, the adoption filing is permanently denied. I'm issuing an order preventing Mr. Rains from coming within 500 feet of the children. Your Honor, the lawyer tried one last time regarding Mrs. Mathers' visitation schedule. That will be determined after her criminal case is resolved, Judge Reynolds said firmly. Mr. Mathers, you may collect your children immediately. Court is adjourned. Outside the courtroom, Robert and Marie Vaughn intercepted him. You've destroyed our daughter's life, Robert accused, his face red with anger. No, Kai corrected calmly. She destroyed it herself. You just helped her do it. The children need their mother, Marie pleaded, grabbing his arm. You can't keep them from her. I'm not keeping them from anyone. Kai removed her hand. Nancy's actions have consequences. She chose this path. This isn't over, Robert threatened. We'll fight this. Actually, Kai's voice dropped dangerously low. It is over. Your daughter committed multiple felonies. Your would-be son-in-law has a history of violence. And you, he smiled coldly. You might want to check your own legal exposure in this conspiracy. What do you mean? Marie's voice trembled. The DA is very interested in who helped Nancy move stolen assets, Kai explained. Who provided false testimony? Who assisted in the attempted kidnapping of my children? We were protecting them. Robert protested. From what? A father who loved them? Who provided for them? Who never missed a single important moment of their lives? Kai shook his head. You chose to believe Nancy's lies. Now you can support her through her jail time. He turned to leave, but Robert grabbed his shoulder. You heartless bastard. Kai spun around, his control finally cracking. Heartless? I gave everything for my family. Everything. While your daughter plotted to steal my children. While you helped her destroy me. I never stopped fighting for them. So yes, maybe I'm heartless now. You all made me this way. He left them standing there, their comfortable world crumbling around them. His phone buzzed with a message from Detective Morrison. Rains is singing like a canary. 3 more women have come forward. He's looking at serious time. Perfect. The social worker brought Silas and Lena to Kai's house that evening. Both children looked confused, uncertain. Lena clutched her stuffed rabbit, the one thing she'd insisted on bringing back from Nancy's apartment. Dad! Silas stepped forward first, trying to act brave. What's going on? Where's Mom? Kai knelt down to their level. Come here, both of you. We need to talk. Is Mom in trouble? Lena's voice was small. We saw police cars at her house. Yes, princess, she is. Kai kept his voice gentle but firm. Mom made some bad choices. She took things that weren't hers and tried to keep you away from me. But she said you didn't want us anymore. Silas's voice cracked. She said you were too busy, that you didn't care. Listen to me carefully. Kai pulled them both close. There is nothing more important to me than you two. Everything I do, every minute I work, it's all for you. I never stop fighting to get you back. What about Elliot? Lena asked. Mom said he was going to be our new dad, that we'd be happier. Elliot won't be around anymore, Kai said firmly. He wasn't a good person. He pretended to be nice, but he hurt people. That's why the police took him away. Did he hurt Mom? Silas was always quick to understand. No, but he might have, Kai answered honestly. That's why we had to stop him. That's why you're going to stay here with me now. We're going to be a family again the right way. Promise you won't leave? Lena's small hand gripped his shirt. Promise you won't let anyone take us away? I promise. Kai hugged him tighter. I'm never leaving you. Ever. And no one will ever take you away again. Later that night, after getting the children settled in their old rooms, Kai sat in his office making final arrangements. His phone buzzed constantly. A text from Warren Mathers. Son, please. We can explain everything. Don't cut us out of their lives. Kai's reply was simple. You made your choice. A message from Nancy's lawyer. My client is willing to negotiate a plea deal. She's asking to speak with you. Delete that in email from Detective Morrison. Raines is being held without bail. 3 other women have come forward with similar stories. He's going away for a long time. Perfect. A final text from Robert Vaughn. You've won. What more do you want? Kai smiled as he typed his response. Justice. He stood and walked to his children's rooms, checking on them one last time. Silas slept peacefully, his soccer trophy back on its shelf where it belonged. In Lena's room, she clutched her stuffed rabbit, finally home. Through the window, Kai could see his parents' car parked down the street. Watching, waiting, hoping for forgiveness that would never come. They would all have to live with their choices. Nancy in her prison cell. Elliot facing justice for his crimes. His parents in their crumbling financial ruin. The Vaughns in their shattered world. And Kai, he had his children back. His home. His victory point one day. Silas would understand the lesson in all this. How to fight back. How to destroy those who tried to destroy you. How to rise from betrayal stronger than ever. But for now, they would heal. Build new routines. Create a new normal. And if anyone ever tried to harm his family again, well, the shark would be ready.